Man, how long has it been since we did a Bond movie? Yes, it's been a long time. But anyway, it wasn't a long time in between the actual film's release dates in real life. Welcome to 1965's Thunderball. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how does this film count as a Christmas film pick? Well, I've got a long, complicated list of reasons. It came out in December. That's it.
Yeah. Honestly, it's more than qualifiable.
That's the same loophole I used for Snow White.
So, and we're not seeing the last of that.
Well, of course, it's the classic use the Christmas time to pretty much boost your box office score.
A lot of companies do that anyway. Like Disney made it on art, either with their animated movies or more recently with Star Wars.
In fact, arguably this predates even the idea of a summer This arguably even predates the phenomena known as the summer blockbuster, which was coined with Jaws in the 70s. So, Hollywood is no stranger to using Christmas time to help out its movies. So it only makes sense James Bond would be among those ranks.
We have got a couple of firsts in the series. This was the first Bond movie that was shot in widescreen Panavision, hence the gun barrel having to be reshot. This time with Sean Connery in it, as opposed to Bob Simmons, the stunt guy. And it's the first Bond film to run over 2 hours.
All right,
nice.
And it's the third and last Bond film to be directed by a returning Terence Young, who previously directed Dr. No and From Russia with Love. And after this, he would go on to have a remarkable career directing Inchon.
Oh, that is literally Inchon!
Inchon exclamation mark.
One of the earliest winners of the Razzie Award for Worst Picture. Beautiful.
Thank goodness we're not here for that. All right, Lives. So where are we starting?
We'll probably do it. We're literally desperate with nothing else to do. Start before the MGM logo. It's like a second or so.
Classic lion roaring.
Should be fine.
Take us away, please.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, click.
I checked in the meantime, our Goldfinger commentary was published on May 2021, so more than 3 years, Lives.
Bloody hell.
Time is a lie.
Yes, the actor actually played Bonds in these ones. How it took
what a novel concept.
Dwibs, interesting place to land the sled this time, but, sooner or later, James Bond needs a movie where he has to work with and save Santa Claus.
Oh, no, guys, JB, Bond's dead. No!
A lot of the Bond movies will do this to try to fake you out with an opening that tells you, is James Bond's dead?
He did it in From Russia with Love.
A lot of others will also do it.
Yes. I know you came to the theater paying money, but, James Bond starts the movie dead. Except no, it's apparently a colonel instead.
Jacques Boulwar.
Fooled you! It's another JB who's dead.
What are the odds? Yeah, that's also another thing. If I recall correctly, this is another one of more egregious in the series catalog. In having a couple of things that are not as spectacular. And if I recall correctly, at least one of them is movie exclusive, as in the book did not actually have it.
Is it a case like Goldfinger where it was technically
I'll need to check exactly what it is later, because Dominic Noble did not cover this.
That's surprising, because usually it's Ian Fleming's books that are usually full of terrible crap.
I know, right? That's the weird part. But again, when it becomes more relevant, yes.
Reminder, Goldfinger has some of the most womanizing tactics in it, and yet it is miles high more moral than the book.
And the film was hardly gentlemanly, let's just say that. But Bond has some suspicions about the widow of Colonel Jacques Bouvard.
By breaking into my house and beating me up.
So, yeah, it turns out Jacques Bouvard is alive, and he was dressed up. And by the way, the guy playing Jacques Bouvard is actually Bob Simmons, the stunt guy.
So
what?
Bob
Was
is
it
literally killing himself.
It was Connery's stunt double.
So was he in actuality his wife that was married?
I've no idea. Actually, he's a Spectre agent, so that wouldn't surprise me.
Admit it, you never were married.
I was to myself. Look, I even managed to do a double at our wedding day.
Actually, is there?
I could show you, but I'm too busy fighting you.
I also noted that during one of the particular action scenes, there was a fly stuck on the the upper part of the camera. Did not bother to remove it or do another take. Okay.
Just think of it as a lover's quarrel, okay?
Yeah, I don't think we ever find out. It might have been an empty coffin for all I know, but whatever. And there's the most famous thing to come out of this movie:
The jetpack.
Yep.
It honestly figures we'd get to this point.
It was 1965. It was
Remember,
terrible back projection and Bond looking like a toy.
This predates obviously the moon landing, so at this point something like this was seen as groundbreaking.
Not the most stealthiest thing you could use.
Well, we've established that the Colonel is alive and into cross-dressing.
Well, he was alive. Oh no, it's not like we could go around.
It's the anti-protest weapon. Yeah, we transition to that to the title music.
And yeah, we got a returning Maurice Binder after he sat the last couple of films out doing the title sequences, and he'll continue to do them all the way through till License to Kill in 1989. And this song, the title Thunderball, was sung by Tom Jones.
Yeah,
so well done,
recognizable.
Two Welsh singers in a row.
They had something going there.
I still cannot fathom. Once again, I think I've mentioned all of these movies. I still cannot fathom that one of the producers is literally called Broccoli for last name.
Oh, it's a good thing you mentioned the producer thing, because this film actually has some rather particular legal issues surrounding it.
Oh boy.
Okay, what happened was around the 50s, 60s, I can't remember when exactly. Fleming got together with Jack Whittingham and Irish film producer Kevin McClory to pen a new Bond book. But eventually Fleming lost interest. But then he decided, I've got this material to work with, so I'll just make that into the book. Without crediting the other guys that helped pitch in. So when McClory found out about it, he wasn't happy.
Was this where the film companies started to sour their relationship with Fleming?
No, this was before the films. So what happened was they took him to court, and the result of those proceedings was that McClory got the rights to the book and anything that came from it. So in order to make this movie, the producers of the Bond films, Broccoli and Harry Saltzman, had to reach a deal with him. So McClory was credited as a producer, and the other two just got other credits. But part of the deal was that McClory couldn't make another Bond film for 10 years.
Yikes!
Oh, Saigon.
And also, this particular thing that Tom Jones is singing now, after it finished, he fainted.
Wait, really?
For a movie called Thunderball, they tend to focus more on the sea.
Yeah, I was about to say, I guess that's the meaning of the titles, just because it's used in the initial song, and it's supposed to represent how the villain strikes. I guess.
Funny, because the cover of Thunderball I'm the most familiar with is the one where James Bond is rocking a jetpack while holding a gun.
Round here, Thunderball's the name of a lottery draw.
I remember again, Jova, was Tom Jones the one who sang the opening of the Duck Dodgers 2000 cartoon?
I think so, yes.
I know he did have this new and there's Adolfo Celli.
Very classy Italian actor.
Yeah, he was dubbed over for this movie, obviously, because of...
If I remember correctly, when it comes to the actual Italian dub of his movie, he obviously, dubs himself over.
And he has an eye patch, because...
You gotta have an eye patch in a James Bond movie to either establish that you're a badass or a bad guy.
Or both.
Yes, indeed.
And Spectre's now hiding out at a insurance company.
Sure. I mean, I guess that's the message of, what can be evil.
Imagine Spectre taking over the IRS and getting James Bond audited.
Oh, I'm apparently this guy is rank number 2. And yeah, there's the leader of Spectre number 1, as usual. You can tell he's evil because he's stroking the cat.
Oh, is this the first time we ever come across Spectre in the movies?
No. Already from Russia with Love.
Spectre, okay, it is a bit odd. Spectre, even very briefly, eulogizing a guy who died, because normally dying indicates failure, and Spectre doesn't normally really tolerate that.
I guess it depends on the quality of the agent.
I should reiterate, is this the first time we ever saw Blofeld in the movies?
No, he was in From Russia with Love.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Oh, that's
Remember,
right.
from Russia with Love basically cannibalized Dr. No by saying that the teacher of the first movie was a Spectre agent.
You see, Shiro, this is how it demonstrates that, cat people are by default evil, as you can see here.
So
and yes, that's still Anthony Dawson physically playing Blofeld.
So all I need to do to find out what Blofeld looks like is to Wikipedia that.
At the very least, the cat looks very chill, so...
Well, but that's exactly it.
I mean, on a meta level, the cat would be pissed off.
The cat is just as evil as its owner.
Or the cat's really the one calling the shots. And
the cat is the one in control and using the human as a puppet.
Exactly.
This is what
gonna get off.
You see, it's scientifically proven that if you're sitting in a chair stroking a cat's head, that means you're evil. Don't you know?
Okay, that bit always makes me laugh. A guy just gets blown up, and Largo just looks over. It's like,
that our Tuesday.
This is a Tuesday.
I mean, to be fair, he was kind of an idiot, thought he could take some funds for himself. So yes, I arguably say that number 1 did the right call.
See, when dogs are evil, people are like, oh, it's solely the human's fault. But when, a guy on a chair is stroking a cat, no, the cat is equally as evil.
Of course.
Sure.
Sure.
I see the bias.
Sure. Have you ever seen cats and dogs? It's been demonstrated that cats are the evil of the two species.
Dogs are too stupid to know better anyway.
Sure, dogs are man's best friend.
Exactly. See?
So, Spectre's next big plan, of course, is to steal a nuclear warhead.
Also, Sure, why are you groaning? You had a dog too.
Yeah, you have a dog too, so don't act like you're not a dog person yourself.
Still a cat person.
Oh, as for who dubbed over Chelly for this movie, it's an actor named Robert Raiety.
But sure, hold on. But by having a dog, doesn't that mean you're cheating on your cathood?
No, she's my mother's dog.
Ah, okay. Loophole.
Technicalities.
Got it. Loophole. Okay.
Technicalities. I haven't betrayed anything, and I get to live.
So, just to recap, basically, Dr. No was essentially the first story, but Russia with Love was the one that more so established the true formula.
When it comes to concerning the movies, Joe, because as we mentioned early on, these adaptations are completely out of order, and they just have to rearrange with what they have.
Sorry.
Remember, technically, our first ever James Bond's commentary was the first ever James Bond thing, Casino Royale.
Now hold on. Shiro, you're right, actually, because Tama is friend with Hari's dogs. So, actually, I guess that technically is how it works, actually.
Alright, so, Bond's trying to figure out what the hell this guy's deal is.
You mean the guy with the obvious marking on his hand there?
Alright, now from what I understand, this movie is a particularly divisive... divisive reputation.
When it comes to the...
Some really enjoy it, others feel certain parts of the movie really drag it down.
For me, when it comes to the Sean Connery era, I feel like this is one of those movies for me that's just kind of, there. Like one of the... I mean, it's no Goldfinger, I'll tell you that much.
I guess I should probably ask, is the most iconic thing about this the jetpack and nothing else?
For me, kinda.
I argue this, while nothing super new, this technically premieres a bit more strongly the whole thing where the villain, how the villain dispatches, someone who he doesn't like. You will see later, Jova. Let me put it this way: what's the name? Team America War Police referenced this movie. But let me just say that.
Yeah, but that.
Okay. I'm guessing also this will be probably the most hands-on we'll see Spectre, at least starting with this movie, since, while Spectre did play a part in Russia with Love, I do remember the focus was more on, the Russians themselves.
Yes, Spectre still had a play to play, but it was more tangential.
Oh no, this is part of the series of Bond's womanizing is a bit iffy.
Yeah.
Oh, so is this where women were starting to say no to him more?
And also, now Bond gets onto this thing.
It was the 60s. The people believed very weird shit back then, including this as an effective method of losing weight.
So what you do is you get into that, you're strapped in, and then it does...
It basically, again, it's similar. Okay, these days there are a couple of machinery that does something similar. The idea of simulate movement without you actually performing it, so it reduces fatigue, but at the same time, every movement stimulates supposedly your muscle and reduces, your fat tissues. Yeah, it's just that this really just looks like a toy.
It's really weird, and it gets even weirder in a moment because he's been there 5 minutes.
Was there a toy set about this?
James,
stop this crazy thing.
James,
and now it looks like he's being humped to death.
James, when are you gonna learn not to let strangers strap you to something?
I guess he loves the danger.
What is he, stupid?
Bond, I thought humping gave you strength. This shouldn't kill you.
Yeah, it's not really a stretching machine. Like, it's not ripping you apart.
Yeah, I don't really... that's another thing. I don't really get how this is supposed to hurt. Like, what is it doing exactly to him?
It was just moving very fast. Like, the closest...
Why would you have a setting that high anyway?
Yeah, that's another good question. The closest he can get is, tiring him out a lot. Sure, it builds excessive fatigue potentially in your limbs, but not to the point of actually being fatal.
Wait, how could he have... Okay, miss, how could he have pressed the switch accidentally when he was strapped to the thing?
James, are you honestly going to say that you automatically believe that she had nothing, that she didn't plan this?
Also...
Spoilers, she hasn't.
Also, Dweebs...
this bit coming up as well.
Yeah, okay. This is the thing that I remember it was mentioned that it wasn't in the book, actually. Bond not only sexually assaulted her to begin with, but then he basically bribed her to have sex for this. This is just... no. It's presented completely as a thing that, yes, he totally deserves that.
The sad part is that that scene could have been so easily fixed if instead, like you could have had him say, well, my silence has a price, and then you could have her smile and go, oh really, like to show that she's into it herself as well. And there you go. That's if you just, all you have to do is just do that, and problem will be just immediately solved.
So, and Bond gets his revenge by
cooking him
turning
up
the heat up and
in the
off
sauna.
door.
And apparently that's enough to blocking him.
Like it's one of those things where it's just like a lot of people are like, you can very easily still make the classic formula Bond formula work. You just have to make some slight little tweaks, as long as the women are demonstrated very clear to also be into it themselves. There's no issue there.
Yeah, that bit was weird. It's like they're not even like professionals trying to kill each other. They're just like two school children playing pranks on each other.
Although if I'm going,
it sure would suck if that wasn't even the guy that tried to kill him.
Although one thing we have to say though, Teo, in the movie's credit, that bit just now where he was massaging her, she doesn't exactly seem to be disliking it, does she?
Well, this was after the... Again, these movies treat it as the classic thing that was for movies at the time that, after a night of sex, instantly both parties are smitten towards each other. Even, despite the beginning might have not been, very consensual. Let me check.
Maybe with the machine, they were kind of hoping, like, weird movie logic. It's like, oh, if he's in there long enough, it'll, like, rupture an organ or some shit. I don't know.
That's probably
that.
For.
But again, it really feels like it shouldn't be doing that. Because you're stuck in just that position.
To do that. I'm just trying to figure out how they got from A to B.
Yeah, there you go. Let me use the specific quote.
Well, actually, I got it. Almost getting killed, even though I still have no idea how the hell that thing that Bond chapter was supposed to kill him exactly. But maybe almost being killed happens to be her fetish.
There you go. Let me read the quote. Bond blackmailing a civilian woman to sleeping with him. Best you can say, he didn't intend to do it, but he's quite willing to take advantage of misconception. The even worse is that in the book simply had Bond flirt with her, agree on a date, and do it consensually later on.
Oh, okay. So the book actually did that better then.
Again, I guess Ian Fleming had smoked something.
No. I'm honestly, knowing Ian Fleming, I'm gonna count that as just a happy accident because that's not his usual MO in the books. So
maybe.
All right.
Maybe he got backlash for Goldfinger and, was trying to improve.
I doubt it. Back when these books were written, unfortunately, this kind of shit went by completely unscathed, sadly. So I doubt it. That was the reason.
Just to mention, this guy, this is a pilot, is basically accepting the bribe from Spectre in order to
impersonate the guy they just killed.
Yeah, and actually help stealing the warhead. But let's just say that he decided to take his position to ask for more money but maybe something else. But let's just say that, Spectre doesn't particularly care about people taking advantage of them. Also, Dave's, in terms of, people believing weird, impossible physics shit, I would like to remind you, Dave, that in the movie End of Days, one of the police officer doing when the guy actually gets crucified to the ceiling scene, actually suggests to Arnold, maybe he did it himself.
We'll have it ready for your widow.
Don't worry, you will get exactly what you deserve. That's usually how stories like that mention.
That's what they probably say. Don't worry, we'll have your money ready for your widow. What? Nothing. Okay. Okay. Now we get to see Spectre enact their plan in quite a lot of detail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I won't say it's quite the thing that Pedro normally makes fun of, literally having to watch every single step in real time, but it's close.
Mm-hmm. But don't you see, Dwebs? If you don't see all of the people walking all those steps for about like 10 minutes, like how are you supposed to know how they got in there? I mean, it's not like, okay, make it a natural, logical assumption that they walked there or anything. That's just preposterous.
Yeah. Also, the red-headed woman that was there earlier, is Fiona Volpe, played by Luciana Paluzzi.
Mm-hmm.
How nice.
Quite a few Italians in this movie.
I mean,
Yeah.
look.
I don't remember
sorry.
exactly her career, but I remember hearing her name.
I got it. A reference that actually makes sense to something we did previously. Dwips, how are you supposed to know that we made all that grain if you don't see all the process of making it and you get to see all the individual bits of grain right there
It's very
in slow motion? You know,
The orgy scene was especially necessary for that.
Cinema Sins would love that movie.
I'm not even kidding you, shit, right? The second Rebel Moon movie, I'm not kidding you, has like 15 minutes of slow motion farming, just so that, because the idea is that they're making grain to serve as something to use for a trade-off with the leverage, right?
Okay,
But the movie literally shows you 15 minutes of slow motion farming of them making the grain, because that's super important to the story. I mean, we need to waste 15 minutes on this, right?
Also, one thing that's also weird, the actress playing the Patricia Fearing, the physiotherapist with Bond, was Molly Peters, but her voice was dubbed by an actress named Barbara Jeffers, which was odd. I mean, why would you need to dub over an English speaking person?
Usually that's a bad sign, Waves, because it basically says the director or someone else in the production did not like how the actor, in this case actress, sounded and wanted to just replace, the voice and just kept the looks, which is, not particularly good looking choice.
It's up there with the whole dubbing over Arnold Schwarzenegger in Hercules.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I know Arnie's acting gets rightfully criticized in that movie, but honestly, I think the dubbed guy is worse. I mean, Arnold couldn't emote in that movie for shit, but he was trying. The guy who dubbed him wasn't trying at all.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise! Was behind curtain number 1? It's a dead body.
You sure he wasn't actually? Okay, I know he wasn't humped to death because he got gassed, but I think it would have been more believable if they said that, he died in a tragic body stretching accident.
So who's behind the bandages? Bruce Wayne? How could this be?
John. Oh, sorry.
I was more making a reference to Batman: Heart of Asher, but your reference would have been better, Pedro. Yes.
I was trying to frame Bond for the murder.
Although one thing we have to say, Dwibs. Go.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, literally strangling with the phone.
Yes, Fraser?
Okay, so that's being said, Dwibs, when it comes to the whole, having the, getting the girl type trope and stuff like that, when it comes to, while there are a lot of Bond movies that do this well, I still think the first Ace Ventura movie has the best one of any of those bits. Where
I love how she's salty that he doesn't consider her enough exercise for the night.
Although, believe it or not, though, in my opinion, this isn't the worst interaction between Bond and a female character.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Wait till we get to Man with the Golden Gun.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Pedro.
No, for me, the best one, and this one, that one works. I'm not just it works exceptionally as even if you could put this in a Bond script, it would work just well. The other one where in the first Ace Ventura movie, the main character's like, okay, so you're gonna leave. So Jim, you're gonna leave. It's an Ace. So Ace, you're gonna leave me at home before you go? No, you shouldn't be left alone. It might not be safe in your apartment, basically because there's a murder on the thing, right? A murder on the thing, right? So what do you suggest? And then it cuts to them already having sex. But then when it ends, Jim, and she's like, 3 times, and Jim's like, I'm sorry, it never happened to me before. I must be tired. And literally 2 seconds later, okay, I'm ready again. Jim's
Alright, so
the sabotage will happen in mid-air.
Yeah, so basically to make sure he doesn't breathe in the killer gas.
Yeah, basically secures his own, yeah. Nope.
Uh,
Time for a little extra cocktail.
Ugh, a lot of dead air here.
Surprised. I'm surprised you're even allowed to do that in a plane like this.
Wee.
The 60s, not as many security measures against that.
Yeah, that's. I was about to
Or
say.
anything for that
I was
matter.
about to ask. I wondered, Wibbs, did they had something similar that happened with Doctor Strangelove, where they had only a general idea what the inside the cockpit of a plane looked like, and they had to build it?
That I don't know.
no, Shira, the logic and the joke I always like to make with these is, but like, no, they didn't understand. This was the 1960s. This was before logic was invented. You see, back in the day, Shira, we didn't use logic. We just kind of winged it in life. We went through life for the entirety of our lives just winging it.
And with possibly a lot of drugs.
Exactly.
And somehow the world did not blow up.
Maybe it did,
Hey,
we just did not notice.
Somehow we're still here.
Shira, again, like that sitcom that Alec would say, hey, we're still alive, aren't we?
Again, that's actually one of my favorite lines from the comic version of Watchmen, where the human who actually turns out to be Rorschach goes around with the end is nigh. The other guy goes, well, how do you know that the war, I don't think the war is over. You're like, are you sure about that? So yeah, the entire idea is to make sure that there was just a happy accident so that the plane can actually land in a specific spot that Spectre has actually indicated as ideal for harvesting the nuclear device. Oh, and by the way, that boat, that's number 2's specific vehicle. It actually keeps an Italian name. It's called the Disco Volante, which means the flying saucer.
So I'm guessing the Thunderball in question is the plane.
Maybe the bomb itself, because it's a nuclear warhead.
Also,
Again, it's one of those situations where the titles really makes no sense. If you ask
It's
me,
a code name for the mission.
Oh, okay, and it's basically sounded better in the marketing, basically.
mm-hmm. So
Yes,
of course they're stealing this from the French because America would absolutely have those nukes on
Well,
all
remember,
kinds of lockdown.
Joe, as we noticed in Doctor Strangelove, they had so many security bypasses, to activate.
That is true, yeah.
Again, this was the mid '60s, so literally the apex of the terror of the Cold War. So yes,
and yeah, around this time the French were getting their own nukes.
that showcase instead in Godzilla 1998.
Yeah.
Also, again, I can give it a pass because again it was the '60s and everything, but the '60s and everything. But you can clearly tell the shots where the plane is actually a toy model.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing against Adolfo Celli or anything, but he's one of those rare guys I've seen on screen who looks good in a suit, but nothing else really.
Well,
It depends on the situation, Liz, obviously.
Like I've seen him in this, and I've seen him in
Okay, Connery. Yeah.
Although to be fair, the costumes themselves didn't really help.
Uh-oh, bit of seatbelt trouble there, dude.
Why does it always happen?
Yeah, I go deep sea diving and I get my seatbelt stuck. Can you give me a hand?
Well, maybe just cut it off with a knife.
No, that's
Not that one. So yeah, as mentioned, Spectre doesn't particularly like people who actually try to take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm. He is literally sucking in his own death right now.
Oh well. And yeah, as Luke said, now we need the other, to showcase the other part of the plan, the harvesting of a bomb. Again, we need to see every little detail about it.
Oh, multiple bombs.
Oh yeah.
Well, when it comes to bombers, usually they did kept, at the very least two.
Yeah, I can imagine. Pedro, these kinds of films are your absolute favorite, aren't they?
I mean, I'm fine with it.
One of the easiest ways for a piece of media to piss me off is by blatantly wasting my time.
I get the idea also. Another reason why they did this was to, because remember, this is middle of the 60s, so we were like, look how good our underwater shots are. Because again,
Yep.
I don't remember when Jacques Cousteau made this documentary about, the underwater sea life, but if it wasn't around, if this wasn't preceding it, it was still around the same time. So, I can imagine this was to showcase the technology at the time. It's just that unfortunately these days it just feels a bit of a waste of time as a result.
Yeah, it's one of those things where relying on special effects is to carry your scene is never a good idea.
Although, to be fair, if they're doing it to flex, I do get it. Even to this day, we get films that mainly want to flex with their practical or even their computer effects.
Oh, sure. And I have a problem when those do it too. So
I'll admit, this does look like a pretty cool heist, though, so I'm fine with it. That being said, yes, this is another staple that we would see from James Bond. The underwater mooks with literal harpoon guns and arsenal and all that jazz.
And they think just covering with that net is enough to mask off the plane from everyone else. I don't remember if they mentioned they made sure that the radars do not capture that, but it still feels weird. I think also what does not help is that the score in particular wants to be very subdued about this to represent, how mysterious and menacing Spectre is for this operation. But as a result, it makes the whole scene coming off as more mundane.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing movie-wise, the standout thing about Thunderball is that this is the first time where James Bond went directly against Spectre as opposed to going at them via a proxy.
Well, yes and no. If I recall correctly, I believe Goldfinger was registered as one of their agents, right?
Really? Really? I thought Goldfinger was on his own.
Goldfinger was his own.
Oh, okay, my bad then.
And of course, we got the shark.
Oh, well, we'll see multiples of that, Jova. There's also another thing that is each poorly about them later.
Somehow, I don't think it'll be shark repellent.
Apparently, Rico Browning did the handled the underwater shooting. He's mainly known for being the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Mm-hmm. Wait, don't drop it!
Yeah, that would have been funny.
That would have been a whoopsie. But yes, now Spectre officially have 2 nuclear warheads under their control.
Imagine trying to say that to the boss. Sorry, but the men handling the nukes got careless, and now their parts are scattered all over the ocean.
Hey, if I squint real hard, that looks a lot like the island from Dr. No. Is this continuity or a reuse of locations?
So now Blofeld's blaming Count Lippy, the guy who was running this operation at the clinic, for picking Angelo.
Because again, he turned out to be someone who had with more ambition than expected. So I kind of get the thought process.
But how's Count Lippy supposed to know that at the start?
It should have again. I guess in the rotten mind of a supervillain, it's the case of should have had better judgment of character. Like Spectre is particularly petty to do that kind of thing, so I can believe it.
So, sorry, Doctor, but you will not be the Bond girl of this film.
You can tell he's evil because his vehicle is completely black,
Of
So
course.
now count their piece trying to kill him.
as showcased in Twister.
But
So, what gadget does the Aston Martin have in this?
there is blind luck.
the ability to summon a motorcycle helper. With a rocket launcher, it seems.
Now that was Spectre sending one of their execution branch people to
That was my
retire.
kill!
Wait. So let me get this straight. Spectre sent one of their own agents to kill the guy trying to kill Bond instead of...
Well, remember, the
killing Bond.
priority for
Also-
them was to deal with the turncoat.
Also, Mr. Director, don't think I didn't notice that for like a half a second you sped up the footage to make it seem that the car was going at a high speed. I don't think I didn't notice, because I did.
It was very common at the time. I think City City Bang Bang also had it.
Also, it's the redhead from earlier, I see, but it's like...
Hey, Moneypenny.
It's like you literally could have had Bond if you had her also fire missiles at Bond's car too, you know?
Every 00 man is in here.
Yeah, this is a special meeting.
There you go.
Oh boy, it must be.
And
We
of
got
course,
001, 006, 009.
from 1 to 9, yes. It's like a classroom.
Sorry, sir.
Is this the only time we ever see all the 00 agents in the same room?
If I remember
I think
correctly,
so, but-
yes.
I think so, but if I recall correctly, we also were in this room in one of the previous movies.
They haven't decided which one yet.
I'm not sure what joke I could make. Maybe Detroit? I don't know.
I mean, joke will be on them if they drop it anywhere in one of the massive deserts of Texas that are uninhabited.
Well, to quote Linkara, to paraphrase a bit Linkara, I guess a bunch of lizard and cacti will just have a bad day.
Yeah.
So what happened? They
Also-
Allison missed.
Also, Draves, how much was 100 million pounds for in 60s terms back then?
Let's have a look.
Have a look.
Yeah, that's the range in where the bomb could be.
Yeah, value of 1965. About over nearly £2.5 billion.
It's a fuck ton. Hey, that's the title of the movie.
Sir, why did we call it Thunderball?
It sounded awesome.
Someone had testicular cancer the other day but had to be operated. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Tee hee 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 hee.
Bond doesn't want to go to Canada.
I like it. The guy in charge who realizes, hey, this is actually one of my top agents. I should listen to him.
I'll be honest, you're just going there because of the sunshine.
Or more so her sunshine.
It's a good job failing us, isn't it? Hearing his country get
the shaft.
Dasso.
I love how pretty much most people are going, James. Is it because of the woman?
Ouch.
Walked away from Robocop for that.
James!
Okay, that should be pretty easy for, if she doesn't want to be found, just cover her thigh.
Oh wow, this really is going to be the underwater movie.
Yeah.
So I called it Bond Goes Swimming, the movie.
Today on the new Jacques Cousteau show. Like
We see a Scottish person swim around underwater for 2 hours.
As
I hope
he
that
spies on a woman swimming with her turtle.
compelling
I hope
television.
I hope that the sea turtle was one of those trained ones that was, trained for this purpose, because there's reason now to suggest me that it might not have been the case.
Oh no! She
A
might
coral,
drown.
which could easily be broken. No, really, corals are extremely fragile when you get down to it. Again, fictional media plays it for drama, people being stuck in those, but you can just break it.
Okay, one thing I've been wondering in my head for a while, what were the advantages of switching to Panavision compared to how the last films were shot?
No idea. Maybe it
Maybe
was
the coloring?
maybe it was the trend that movie theaters were having at the time.
If I
Let me
if I remember correct, I don't think it was the exact same as CinemaScope. I think but basically Panavision is that was more, it was more so about cameras rather than aspect ratio. Yeah. All right, so basically Panavision provided CinemaScope accessories. Basically it makes it easier to shoot the movie in CinemaScope, which was the widescreen at the time, basically, from what I'm seeing here.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, because remember, you'll notice how we're watching this on the Blu-ray, right? And it's in widescreen despite being a 60s film. That's because a lot of these movies were actually shot in CinemaScope, specifically the more high-budget ones. But then they were cropped on TVs for a long, and even on DVDs for a long time. And it wasn't until widescreen TVs became the norm that film companies started going back to the original negatives and actually properly presented the movies in their original widescreen ratio.
Which is odd because, I mean, at least here in the UK, when widescreen TV was starting, for those who didn't have one, 14:9 was an option.
It also depended on which country to use lives. You have to remember what was that cut? A lot of European countries were stuck with German televisions and their own weird quirks. So
I bet whichever agent was originally going to come here is cursing Bond as he's freezing up in Canada.
An excellent example of what I'm talking about is the Disney Sleeping Beauty. If you watch that on the original VHS, there's literally part of a shot that is where one of the fairies tries to make the other two bigger. But we don't see the two small fairies in the right because, again, the movie was cropped to 4:3. so you can show the whole shot, so the fairies are actually not visible in that shot.
Basically, Sleeping Beauty was a technical marvel where it was shot in widescreen. The problem was every home release had to do it in 4:3. Like, for ages, I didn't know that there were entire sections of the movie I was missing until I saw a proper widescreen thanks to Disney+.
See, the thing is, with a movie like this movie clearly it was shot in widescreen, but it wasn't exactly. You can easily crop this to 4:3, whereas that movie was specifically animated to that widescreen ratio. So trying to crop that into the 4:3 is, yeah, you have to. It doesn't work.
And 14:9 was a decent enough compromise aspect ratio you could use, where you could crop something from widescreen into something that was made for analog TV while not losing too much.
I think I'm starting to get the thing with this movie. This movie feels kind of like the movie that was made because they could.
Yeah.
Why do it in widescreen? To show that we can. Why all the underwater stuff? To show that we flippin' can. Like, they even partnered up with an American filming thing. Oh, right, yeah, Panavision was an American motion picture equipment company.
Yes.
For that widescreen and stuff here. I'm not going to say that the movie is terrible, but I will admit, aside from this being like James Bond's first direct confrontation with Spectre, and maybe that's supposed to be what's important, it does feel like just another James Bond movie, which, okay, to be fair, there are a ton of James Bond's movies, so I guess it's not outlandish to accept that some are kind of just going to be like the equivalent of a typical episode in the series or whatnot. However, this was only the fourth one, though. Like, granted, maybe for the time, this was all you needed, essentially, since, standards were different.
Also, since we didn't mention budget, 9 million, box office 141.2, so as you can imagine, a huge success. And I think he did more than the previous movie, even if the budget was higher.
One of those franchises that's easy money.
Mm-hmm. Also, remind me, Pedro, because again, I don't know much of the history of the country since you mentioned the name. Was Nassau a previous colony from your country?
Hold on, let me get the actual, because
it's in the Bahamas, in case you're wondering.
I'm pretty sure that's not correct.
The name sounded,
Right, Nassau. Okay, now I know what this is. Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, because.
Oh, no. You see, I don't mean Spectre in that way. I mean, that would be just a little too on the nose.
The answer you're looking for, Theo, is yes.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I was because usually we just talk about the actual country that the commune belongs to.
Mm-hmm.
Angola, specifically. If I remember correctly, I think in Portuguese we say it very differently than that. Let me double check.
In case, actually, I wonder, did you know, Jova, because I was card game and everything, did you know, Jova, that there's a Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype inspired by 007?
Wasn't that one of the guys who actually was trying to date my...
No, I'm talking about an actual card archetype.
The card archetype.
The spiral archetype. It's not very good. It's one of those that tries to be thematic about, what it's about, essentially trying to incorporate effects that are about, the spying, like knowing your opponent's informations or sabotaging. But as a result, it's very weak and becomes subjected to, the usual wall of 5 omni-negate monsters that your opponent normally uses.
That must have been made in one of the later editions.
I think it was done around the time of Arc V, Arc 5. I'll need to check again.
Oh, now I think I remember. The Spiral Mission series, I think it was called.
I think so. I'll give you a link later.
Yeah, that's what I can remember. Like Massawa isn't even one of the 20 more populated cities from Angola. It's just a small
So
it's just a small little village.
It
So
was one of the important points during the pirate era, if I remember correctly.
True, but nowadays it's not particularly like there are more like Luanda specifically is the capital. Like that's the one.
I can imagine that a movie like this was because also about the tourism that it might have had back then. But at that point, it had already reconquered its independence anyway.
Yep. That being said, to this day, people in Angola still speak Portuguese. In fact, most African Portuguese people either migrated from there or descend from people over there.
interesting.
Also, some fun facts. Volpe, she was originally going to be an Irish girl named Fiona Kelly, but then they cast Luciana Paluzzi, so they changed her character to Italian.
Her code name means fox, in case you're wondering.
Also, Paluzzi originally was auditioned to be Domino, but got Volpe instead, and then she said later on that actually you're playing the Femme Fatale was more fun than being the Bond girl.
Yeah, Volpe. That's where the name Vulpix from Pokemon comes from.
It's a trace. Well, Drova,
It's a
you
play on-
Pikachu is similar, yeah.
No, I mean like Fox is Volpe in Italian, and so the Vulpix name is derived from that. From that,
Drova, you
basically.
played the Kingdom Hearts, one of the leaders of the 5 movements for Union X, Vulpes. That's the original Latin for it.
Ba-da-ba.
For a moment, I thought you were saying that the woman Volpe was the inspiration for Vulpix.
But yeah, that's the bit.
No, but like the Latin, yeah.
But yeah, that's what I was talking about exactly. That this of all the Bond movies from the Connery era, this is the one that definitely feels like it's just going through the motions.
It's very slow. Yeah, I don't really remember it being this much slow.
What diamonds of threat.
That's why unlike Dwiz, I appreciate something more like Moonraker or something like this, because Moonraker at the very least is insanely entertaining on how batshit nuts it is. I would take that over this, because this is just kind of dull.
Also, there's so many different titles depending on what country you lived in. In Italy, it's called Operation Thunderball.
Yeah, no, it's really called. That's the thing with the word that they use for the subtitle is the movie is called Thunderball. And the subtitle is translated to Operation Thunder because Tuono means.
Oh boy! I know about my Bond tropes to know where this is going.
Yeah, in Portugal, the film's called Atomic Ball.
Yep.
And in Japan, it's called Thunderball Fighting.
Let's fight.
Richard Maybaum, who was one of the screenwriters, said he didn't like the casting of Adolfo Celli in the movie.
Why?
He didn't.
That's okay.
All right.
Duly noted.
All right. Let me correct you on there, because I feel like I didn't say it properly. The actual Portuguese name for this movie is Operation Thunder.
You'd think an agent would have better training to be ready for hot water.
My guess is they looked at because the term Thunderball doesn't really translate well to Portuguese directly. So my guess is the Portuguese distributors looked at it and thought, "Fuck it, it's basically a secret British operation, right? So we'll just call it Operation Thunder. That works."
Also, Dweebs, just to know, is this another new actor playing Felix?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the series has a weird habit of getting a different actor for every new film.
Also, fun fact, Pedro, in my country, the third Mad Max movie, Beyond Thunderdome, is translated with a term that can also potentially mean beyond the Thunderball.
Rick Van Nutter plays Felix Leiter here.
Oh, of course the bad guy has sharks.
In fact,
Like I said, drove Team America.
Yeah.
Inspired for
Felix-
this.
His Felix Leiter is
yeah, from what I'm seeing here,
yeah, what he said.
yeah, from what I'm seeing from what I'm seeing here, Dribs, there's a lot of other countries who also changed the name to Operation Thunder because it's just easier to translate that way. Try to find what other countries named it.
Yep, let me guess. In the drink he goes.
Yeah, I
I
think.
mean, it's a good way of dispose the body.
Yeah, I think Italy did the same thing here too.
Yes, as I
Here.
mentioned.
Yeah. What else?
I guess they prefer Italian food.
Well, that was one of the... Yes, Jerry? Sorry.
You'd think if you have the money for a shark pool, you'd get a better pool.
But he's evil, Shiroi.
No. Hold on. That's the thing. Like, if I was gonna make, first of all, I wouldn't even use sharks. I would use piranhas. Second, you have to put your piranha pool under a trapdoor. Don't you know how this shit works? I mean, you need to. I mean, when you're in your office, you need to have a special awesome button under the desk so you can use it so you can spring the trapdoor to have the person fall into the piranha pool. Come on, that's basic shit, guys.
Hey, it's Q.
Hey, Q. Awesome.
With a Hawaiian shirt.
Desmond
what the fuck are you wearing?
Once again, played by the legend himself, Desmond Llewellyn. Llewellyn? Is that Llewellyn? Okay.
Of course. Useful when you deal with nuclear stuff.
Jesus, Bond.
What are you, Bond 7?
Maybe he is.
Well, Theo, let's face it. The Q segments of Bond movies are basically the equivalent of a kid getting presents at Christmas. So,
Apparently, Desmond Llewellyn didn't like wearing shorts.
Try to act serious. The entire world is at stake.
There you go. Portable rebreather for emergencies. Yeah, it's not really useful for long periods, but you know, in case of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
We cut to the next scene.
Yeah, not one of my favorite Q scenes, if I'm honest.
yeah, even the Q scene.
That was over pretty quick.
Yeah, even the Q scene, which is usually one of the best parts of every Bond movie. Even the Q segment is not particularly good.
I'll admit, for a threat that's so
I
big
think
that
Bond kind of takes us playing a bit too far in this film.
I'll admit, for a threat that's supposed to be so big that all the world's governments, you know, we've even got Felix from the CIA, you know, Bond's American counterpart here.
Yeah.
You'd think that this would feel heavier, but I'll admit, maybe it's some Bond's playing, but I'm not feeling the weight of the threat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys mentioned that this film has grown to have something of a divisive reputation amongst the fan base. Like, what's the overall consensus?
I don't hate it or anything like that. I just find it kind of dull.
It's pretty much there for me. Nothing too special, but you know, just nothing, not the worst thing I've ever seen.
When the most memorable thing in the movie is Bond nearly getting humped to death, I think something's gone wrong.
Yeah.
Also, that sweet.
And even that scene,
my.
that's the thing is, and even that scene is incredible. I still have no idea how the hell that thing is even supposed. How is that supposed to even kill him? Like that, I have no idea what was the logistics behind the conception of that scene.
Apparently, it stretched him a little.
Did it?
Like sure, I mentioned maybe the idea was to rupture his organs.
Well, that's I guess, Joe, but that's the same, kind of lack of suspension of disbelief that the cables in Frozen 2010 had when the characters constantly said, "No, the razor sharp, we're cutting my hands," when they clearly do not.
It's more. I feel like the way the scene was directed did a poor job of conveying that. Then, if that's really what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Okay, I was a bit wrong earlier. The original idea Fleming, McClory, and Whittingham had was to make a film or TV pilot, not a book. Just when he took the stuff and made the novel later.
Yeah, I was
about to ask,
sorry.
does the book maybe explain it better?
I don't remember.
Don't know, and quite honestly, I don't care. I don't really like the books.
Poor aim.
Yeah, I'm trying to, as I usually do. I'm trying to see if there's any funny versions of the funny names for any of the for this movie somewhere in the world, but no. Mostly, it's just either Thunderball or Operation Thunder, and that's basically it. No.
Of course, the bad guys who have cameras just in the right angles to get a perfect shot.
That's the thing, Joe, the Disco Volante is basically number 2's pride and joy, so of course it would be kind of the equivalent of a, mobile fortress for him. Really? That's how you fish things out?
Oh.
There were other songs that they recorded as well for this movie. There was a Shirley Bassey song called Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And apparently you can hear bits of it during the movie as a leitmotif.
Okay.
Uh-oh, has he gotten deaf?
That didn't happen. And there's also a song called Thunderball from Johnny Cash, of all people.
Well, guess we're going fishing tonight. Ah, the old hiding under a ship trick. A classic. Yep, just the tank and his mask and not a bit of flesh. We obviously got him. Uh-oh.
We're in trouble.
Not saying Bond, James Bond, are you?
That's an oh-so-subtle ring you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but why would you advertise to the world that you work for an evil organization? Might as well wear a T-shirt saying I work for Spectre.
So,
Oh, Pedro.
100 miles per hour.
Pedro, you were talking about stuff being so obviously sped up to make it look like they're going faster.
Yeah. Well, okay. To be fair, in this bit, it's done.
I was going to say wait for the finale.
Oh, right.
Tio, I found the reason why Marvel didn't like casting Adolfo Celli in the movie.
Go on.
Apparently, he felt he was not very threatening and complained he had to make up other villains to make him more threatening.
Oh. Okay, I'm gonna just be very polite and says that yes, that's just like his opinion, man.
yeah.
I love it. They did not even,
That's the end of that scene.
they did not even let the dialogue finish before the swarm.
If the movie itself doesn't seem to be interested in the storyline, why the hell should I?
Well, I mean, this was the the Terrence Chung did go on to make Incheon, and that film had pretty similar editing.
Yeah, that is true. Where the last bit of a phrase gets cut off.
Which is
I'm
weird. I
one-
remember the previous 2 films he directed having this issue.
Maybe it was just losing his touch, with the years. Dweebs. I don't know.
Did he get better after Incheon?
Don't
Not
I remember?
Sure. I'll have to check his filmography. Terrence Young. Made like 2 more films after that. And then just a couple of years ago, an actress claimed that Young essayed her in 1962.
Classy.
Ooh, she's
Jesus.
a good shot. I see she calls the shots too.
So the film's villains, the leads of the villains, the leads of this evil plot are both Italian.
I love how even Bond's like, of course he has a separate pool for sharks. Well, Pedro, there are advantages or disadvantages to sharks versus piranhas for villain pools. Piranhas, they do admittedly clean up, but they can leave something of a mess. Now, a shark can swallow something whole.
That is true, Joe, but there's just a unique appeal to dropping a person in a piranha pool and watch it as it very quickly turns completely red.
It is good for medical procedures. What do you think, Tio?
Well,
Piranhas or
piranhas,
sharks?
they're technically faster.
All right, we need.
Oh.
All right, Shiroi. So which is it? Piranhas or sharks?
Secret third thing, obscure deep sea abomination.
Sure.
All right.
Don't mind me, I
Liz?
just got fucking Cthulhu in my pool here.
Okay, so
Yes.
I guess.
Yes,
Okay.
actually.
That would legit be a flex.
Also,
Is it
that guy is having his sunglasses, distorted for some reason. Yeah, look at that.
I guess in Shiro's now there's also the advantage that just like it showed in South Park, you can also go into a My Neighbor Totoro style adventure with Cthulhu. So there's that. Dwebs, you're the only one here left. Sharks or piranhas for your villain pool?
Piranhas.
All right. See,
They're
Dibs.
small,
See,
and it doesn't take much food to feed them.
see, Dibs gets it.
Yeah.
Are you sure about that, Bond? Not being a passionate
He says
fan.
right as he looks in her direction. Have I ever told you that I have a shark pool?
We were talking about the evil cats earlier. See, Joe, but now that you've seen the movie, I can make this joke and you'll get it. Hey, Shiroi, what do cats and Drun have in common?
What?
They have no souls.
That's because they take yours when you die.
Okay, let me check because.
So hold on.
So yes, go on.
So hold on. You just said that cats will take your soul Shang Tsung style, and you're still trying to tell me that cats aren't evil?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe souls are inherently evil, Joe, and they're doing us a favor. Also, since I'm terrible with the nautical terms, I had to check. 20 knots is usually 37, slightly more than 37 kilometers per hour. So I guess for a boat, it means quite a lot, but when it comes to actual speed, it's not that much.
Also, those golden grotto sharks are actually tiger sharks.
You know, considering all of the Bond movies and the whole, Bond with a lot of women thing, I'm surprised they never went for a harem approach in any of these movies. It would have been an interesting way to mix things up.
Well, shit.
And now they know. Paula checked out. That doesn't sound like her. Time to Metal Gear this. Power appears to be out. Could just be a random blackout.
Sir, the emergency generator's got a few bullet holes in it.
That's unusual. Well, get the emergency generator then.
We have one?
Yes, just in case it ends up with bullet holes. It's bullet hole season after all.
Shit.
Okay, that aquarium just said, did they just take that from Doctor No?
Possible.
Oh,
Cyanide.
so she killed herself rather than revealing you.
Ugh.
A bit unceremoniously, but they showcase it, so at the very least.
And it's better than. Actually, we'll get to that.
I
I was
love
gonna
it. How,
ask, like, what's happening with the music, but I didn't realize that was an alarm.
also, I
Yeah,
love
those-
that the metal door produces no sound whatsoever, despite clearly clanging like that. They just muted that in post.
It must have been the wind that knocked me out. And it must have been the wind that's shooting everyone now. Eh.
Well, that would have been funny. The film ends because they all killed each other,
Shit.
including Lager getting caught in the crossfire.
Also, Butterfingers Bond. Jesus.
Yeah, like, seriously. Bond's been having a lot of goof-ups this movie in particular.
I guess that's another thing that
I think
can be
it's,
added.
it's
Bond
because-
is not in his A game in this.
No, see, here's the thing. This would have been. I get that they want to make sure he's, to present him not as an infallible being, to make sure to keep the tension up. The thing is, okay, this is the other thing that doesn't help. This movie doesn't really have like a super strong physically intimidating opponent for him to fight, like an Odd Job or a Jaws. Like if we had one of those kinds of characters in here, it would have made the movie a bit easier to do tension with. Like it's just.
I love it. We have a metal pool cover, just to be sure.
Well, he's Italian, so of course he comes prepared.
So, okay. Can you even imagine, like, what aside from this, what would even be the practicality of having this in your pool?
Well, to keep germs out, of course. Oh, and of course there's a slot for the sharks to go in through.
Basically, from one pool to the other, a little surprise, basically.
I guess just in case the sharks are feeling bored in a pool. Okay, so I gotta know, did they actually have Sean Connery swim with sharks?
I think that was the classic thing of put a glass thing, around, near him or something.
I'll look it up.
Well, if I remember correctly, I think sharks can potentially be trained.
Potentially. Yes,
Okay,
women...
apparently, there was a plastic panel shielding Connery from the sharks, but they're only about 3 feet in height, and the
Yeah, like
sharks
in this
could swim
case.
over, and the sharks could swim over them, like these ones. Needless to say,
So
Connery was.
Yeah, that one was
He was
literally
pissing
beelining
himself.
towards him, by the way, if you noticed.
So Connery actually was in the water with those sharks, Jesus.
It's part of the effect to showcase how real the danger is.
Kudos for the practical effects on that, but man, Connery must have been a pretty brave actor.
You also have to remember, Joe, that it was the 60s where, regulations for these kind of things, both for man and animal, were not a big thing.
That is
They're a bit
true.
lax.
I guess it's a good thing that the tiger sharks, behaved themselves enough.
Mm-hmm.
That, or they must have maybe had chum in the water to make them more interested in that than Connery. I don't know. Boy, if this were an anime, this reaction would have been way different. Let's just say he'd prefer to be in that water than the water he was just in.
Very funny.
Huh.
I also gotta love that the scene is literally built for the was built for the audience because she has to cover a part of her body, so she has to cover their chest and everything, but everything under it is fully exposed, so you would think that she would try to prioritize what to cover in front of him, and of course they porked. At the very least, here it seems more consensual.
Jesus, it looks like she's trying to suck him dry.
Man, this kitten bites.
Just a reminder that cats are evil, because she's the femme fatale.
I give up. You'll meet your demise on your own. I'm not allowed to discuss that one.
Of course.
Aha!
Okay, now it's my turn to complain about fashion design. I never got the appeal of those, plume things that you put around yourself.
Yeah, you Spectre guys aren't very subtle.
Yeah, like what Bond said. Spectre is the kind of organization that tries to be super secret, but has very easily identifiable rings for all its agents.
They are the card-carrying villains of the franchise.
At the very least, M. Bison did not try to hide what he was doing. Okay, at least partially. I guess you can make an argument that SAN was the cover-up, agency in Street Fighter 4.
Only 3 years in, already someone's calling out the weird thing of Bond sexes women into changing sides thing.
I guess that's their way of showing, look, we get it. We are deconstructing it. While still having him do it.
It was 1965, Jover. I'm not sure anyone was quite ready to do that properly yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, to be fair, she is technically the bad guy, so maybe we're not supposed to agree with her.
Not just that, it's also to showcase that, the loyalty to Spectre as, priority over everything. These people do not, fault as much as the previous ones. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
My arm's on fire.
Ow.
Is this how the United Nations do their business? Have random carnivals in the street?
Sure.
Also, was that guy dressed as Superman?
Imagine the producers of the Bond films making a Superman movie.
Henry Cavill could be James Bond. Why don't we make Henry Cavill Superman? Nah, that would never work.
Also, Dreams, was United Artists ever involved with any of the Superman live-action movies, the original 4 ones?
No.
Okay.
Honestly, the most bizarre fact about the making of the Superman movies is that Mario Puzo went from The Godfather to that.
That's certainly a choice in career.
All right, everyone. This carnival is how the UN will decide its voting from now on. Wait,
Like a
how do we know
parade of...
Wait, how do we know who's saying yes or no? The ones who are dancing the most enthusiastically are saying yes.
Yeah.
What happened to just raising our hands? That's boring.
There you go. The proper name of a festival is sorry pronunciation because I don't know if it's supposed to be one way or another. Junkanu.
Could you put it there so I can read it?
It had origins. I'm getting there. It had origins during the British colonialism, and as you can imagine, it has origin in the slave trade.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss Club.
We're 2/3 of the way through the movie, and it feels like it's been not even halfway through yet. Yeah, you could tell this was the first Bond movie that was over 2 hours, and I don't think they quite
And with no need
got the
to.
hang of it yet.
I love that despite having been shot in the leg, Bond still is going despite everything, like nothing's happening.
Let me guess.
During the chase, he was limping a bit, but damn, it feels like it's nothing.
The guy played the bongos just a bit earlier. I wonder if he gave the guy who did the. I wonder if he gave Armando Peraza the inspiration to do that bongo technique when he was doing the Good Future track for Metallic Madness and Sonic CD, US one. You know, the one, it's the Good Future one, the one where the guy's going crazy on the bongos.
Yeah.
No, wait, don't leave me with my wife. She's trying to kill me.
Also, Lives, you'll be surprised. I forgot which specific occasion. There was a Square Enix type of festival thing where they had a specific way remix of One Winged Angel, and like the middle to end part was performed by someone with bongos. It's easily one of the worst versions of the song, if you ask me. No idea. Okay, I will say this because the score so far, like I said, has been questionable, but there's a bit of a nice way of raising the tension as the music of Solo Dance keeps escalating for this. So
Wait for it. Somehow that bullet went between his fingers there.
not just that. Well, no, it's covering the wound.
Okay, this is one of my favorite lines, actually.
Let me guess, she's very that tired. There you go. Now we know
Just
where
a little
Arnold.
tired.
Yeah, that's the thing, Shiro. One movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger had him use that exact technique on someone.
He's dead tired. All right.
Some of you may not come back alive, but I don't care.
No, that's the quote from Shrek. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I mean, all they're doing is just dropping off the Spectre's.
Oh,
ransom.
I get that too, but Cow and Chicken did that joke first with the guy going, some of you may not come back alive, but I don't care.
Honestly, of all the movies, I think this is the film in which M has the most faith in Bond.
I guess the success with Goldfinger raised his status that much.
But then in later films, Ed keeps fluctuating whether he's perfectly cordial with Bond or he acts very crusty towards him.
Yeah, it's like, you're a loose cannon, James.
I'm guessing it's because in this case, because even higher ups are in the fray, M's got to be the one who has enough faith in Bond. But you see, the Italian got Golden Grotto sharks. So of course the Golden Grotto is where they come from. Oh yeah, sure, just casually go into shark-infested waters.
Yep, the Spectre really didn't hide that ship very well.
Oh, yeah, this. Let me see, just quickly. Yeah, by the way, they actually killed sharks for real in this. Every time you're seeing the sharks getting shot, yes, they actually did that. This was before, the animal regulation thing happened, because this was before Cannibal Holocaust. And yeah, these days it's absolutely just barbaric.
So basically, real animals were harmed during the making of this movie.
Again, there is a good reason why that zero quality has to be present at the end of the movies. Again, it sounds such a silly thing these days, but it's just there because otherwise shit like this will happen on a regular basis.
You think
That's the sad thing about regulations. Sadly, a lot of them occur because of, stuff that wasn't regulated before. And I'm guessing there wasn't glass separating Connery from sharks in this scene. Holy cow.
Also,
if you guys thought that was bad, wait till a scene in Never Say Never Again, the remake of this film.
Also, this was also before Jaws, so this was even before people had, the very popularized unnecessary fear of the sharks.
I don't know if the underwater scenes were actually cinematography or shot by the same guy that did Jaws. I don't know.
Yeah, Sean Connery. Sean Connery was quite nervous scuba diving with sharks for... Oh wait, that's Never Say Never Again.
That's the remake of this film.
Wait, he was in a remake of this film?
It was unofficial. I'll explain more when we get to that.
Again, Drew, outside of OK Connery, there are a couple of bootleg Bond movies.
Starring Connery himself, but...
Sometimes they did that, yes.
So let me get this straight, though. He had to swim with sharks not once, but at least twice.
Hopefully, was paid well.
Okay, let's see.
He probably was. Maybe he asked for a pay increase because he had to swim with sharks and Never Say Never Again.
Let's see. Early in the film, Q gives Bond a tiny breathing apparatus.
Okay, these shots in particular, were they just the screensaver for the loading the movie?
Well, I can imagine they did a bunch of, random underwater shots, and they basically said, we have, basically these as cushions we'll put in between some particular, scenes or cuts, so that, they cushion, without having for us to cut back to back with things.
Yeah, if they cut a lot of the more frivolous underwater scenes out, this movie wouldn't be the first one to make it to be over 2 hours.
Also, kids, I don't know what you might be thinking if you're seeing this for your first time, but, just medical opinion 101. Never perform, sexual acts underwater. The friction will kill you, literally.
So, regarding sharks, for a shot in which a shark swim towards Bond as he's exiting the pool...
Well, that's the thing.
this-
The actress who played Domino, I think, is her character. She was apparently she was apparently a really good swimmer. She did all the underwater scenes involving her character herself, including the that love scene just then.
Mm-hmm. Go on, Jova.
So, get this. For the shot in which a shark swim towards Bond, the crew decided to use a dead shark pulled by wires to reduce the danger. Special effects coordinator John Steers got in the pool to control the shark, surrounded by other live sharks, and as they began to shoot, it became clear the shark wasn't really dead. As it began moving, other sharks took notice and a feeding frenzy ensued, leaving Steers in the middle of a bloodbath. As Steers yelled, "Get me out of here!" Young shouted, "Turn the cameras," hoping to capture the scene on film.
And that's what we got. Again,
But,
it's kind of like...
Domino's realizing her brother is dead.
Yeah, it's a long story. It's kind of like with Roar, when we commented Roar 1981, I think it was, Jova. It has that kind of thrill of, seeing something so real happening. But when you stop and think, oh, wait, aside from the animal cruelty, these are actually real people in real danger.
You will never see a movie like Roar be made these days, and...
For very good reasons.
Yeah, like with Action Park, I have to say, thank God. Like, that is sadly the thing. Like Tio hinted at, for as silly as some regulations are, sadly those regulations exist because, well, something stupid enough happened to make them need to be a thing.
No, again, when it comes to the whole no animals were abused or badly treated, or killed in the production of a movie, I believe it's one of those that is absolutely necessary because otherwise movie companies will absolutely have no qualms in abusing that kind of freedom.
Like, even outside of, the, it's kind of bad to say, but going to be honest, the usual misconduct, movie production has a whole history of various types of yikes.
Yeah. Ow. Just the tip.
And this isn't the first time the series does the point gag. Die Another Day does that gag like 4 times.
Also, I'm sorry that I don't think that's what the movie was trying to convey, but all this beach scene reminds me that I kind of miss Ursula Andress. I don't think the actress who plays Domino is bad or anything. She's perfectly fine. The scene's perfectly fine. But when it comes to Bond movies, I'm reminded of that when I think of that particular scenario.
Well, Tio, the next Bond film we're going to be doing, you'll get to see Ursula Andress.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like as far as Bond girls go, Domino has like very little presence outside of "My brother was killed."
That's because
it's time for vengeance.
That's because we had a bunch of already other girls which Bond interacted with. So as a result, Domino has the less screen time.
Oh, that's true. I mean, Bond girls have had to compete before, but I think maybe aside from the first film, it's never felt like the Bond girl is like the girl with the least amount of screen time. Although I guess, to be fair, one could argue they're all Bond girls, but when I consider a Bond girl, I usually consider the one who's officially the partner, obviously the one with Bond at the end of the film and all that jazz. Like, shoot, honestly, the Doctor arguably could have been the Bond girl for this movie instead.
There you go. There's the pill. So I guess he didn't swallow it before.
So it'll alert people to his location.
Yeah. That's because, again, if you notice the runtime, we're finally approaching the climax of the movie.
Doesn't feel
So-
like it.
No, again, it's part of the slow burn of a movie. It feels like we should be roughly at the halfway point when you get down to it, but no, we're basically at the climax instead.
I do get that maybe they're trying to, not go for the obvious point, but again, I feel like, the movie that is literally the world threat, that is literally uniting all the world's governments, should feel more exciting, maybe?
Well, it's still, at the end of the day, it's still a spy story, so of course it has to be, with a lot of discretion, literally supposed to be stealthy and everything, so part of me gets it. But
Last movie did that perfectly.
Yeah, it's that kind of weird balance that previous movies managed to get correctly, and this one arguably didn't. It's the same reason why actually making an FPS that is themed, an actual proper FPS that is themed after a spy, doesn't really work, and you have to instead do the stealth kind of genre, because back in the day, Apogee Software did try to have a Doom clone, well, not even Doom clone, because Doom had not been released yet, but a Wolfenstein clone called Blake Stone, which is clearly inspired by James Bond, but it's just another FPS like anything else.
Also, when we mentioned Bob Simmons earlier, he played the colonel who got killed by Bond.
Gone.
Yeah.
He was also the stunt double for Count Lippy's actor when he got blown up in the car. Apparently, he nearly died.
Ugh. Like I said, not just for the animal. This was before there were all those safety regulations for stuntmen.
Mm-hmm. Of course, Bond is among them.
Yeah, I managed to sneak in.
Yeah, even after he continued doing stunt work for quite a few Bond films up until A View to a Kill in 1985. He died in 1987.
Also, really, that's the sound effect you give to the rotors of the submarine, model.
All the other ways they're flexing, all the technology, and then there's that.
Yeah.
I mean, this budget was because it'd be
9 million. 9 million.
9 million, yeah.
It was like, if I recall correctly, it was like triple the budget that Goldfinger had. Let me see.
I know it's definitely triple like what happened with.
Oh, is this where the bullshit begins?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that. Okay.
Anyway, to mention Dave's, yes, the budget of Goldfinger was 3 million, so this is 9 million, literally 3 times that.
How much of that went to Sean Connery, I wonder?
I really do wonder myself.
And there they are, the nukes.
They literally hid it in the actual cave, the actual grotto.
And how much of it went to the underwater scenes?
Yeah, again, back then, in order to achieve this level of effect, they must have been very costly.
Yeah, clearly not a whole lot of it went on the sound effects. I mean,
Actually, can you check in the meantime how much of a budget, relation would have been 9 million back then compared to today's standards?
I mean, I like the music score, all right, from John Barry. The sound effects are a bit weird.
I still find it funny that for a movie that's so water-based, arguably the most popular cover of this is Bond using a jetpack in the air.
That your audience are seeing with the thumbnail.
Well, that's just normal. John Barry always delivers a good score, so.
Yeah. How about that? It's about 90 million today.
Which is, it makes sense in terms of, how much of what they did with it.
Alas, Pedro, at least in my opinion, even John Barry couldn't deliver a good score because he was rushed to do one for the Man with the Golden Gun.
Also, I said it for this movie. I think the score was a bit too subdued in a lot of moments. So I don't know.
Well, crud.
At the very least, there are no sharks now.
But unfortunately, the oxygen in his tank won't last forever.
Shame M didn't give him a pen laser.
Yeah, we'll also have to say this. I'm not as affected as Shirei from the flare, but I can tell that it's very distracting.
Was this before Flash?
I'm pretty sure. Not just that, but I'm pretty sure that's actually authentic. It was not like enhanced in post or anything. So because it's genuine equipment that people who dive under where there is sometimes there is no light, they kind of have to actually do it. I don't know. I just think. I get the idea that it might have been a bit too much enhanced when it came to, just filming it. Uh-oh.
Well, crud.
He was hoping that they can actually, get over with.
I guess, ironically for Bond, that light is his best hope.
So yeah, it's this film's slow pace that also kind of makes me wish we'd have done this a bit sooner than the 3 years it did take for us to do it.
We're done, shit.
All right.
Because going back into a series after 3 years, commentary-wise, and it's a really slow, well, not a very good slow burn.
I mean, I will say this, and mind you, it might be because it's my first time ever seeing this movie. I'm having a good enough time. Like, let me put it like this. It's a good enough first experience, but it's not something I'd go out of my way to rewatch. Whereas, I think with all the previous movies, yeah, I'd be down to rewatch them.
I think this movie's a little too long.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll admit, honestly, I feel like Domino doesn't really even add much to the movie. Like, I feel like we could have cut out all the Domino stuff, and that would have probably saved us, like, maybe 20, 30 minutes, possibly.
Like, as somebody who very recently watched a near 3-hour film, I didn't feel most of that. I'm feeling all of this.
Yeah, it really does depends on, the actual pace of a product.
Again, if it's I get it. Most James Bond movies arguably are world threats, but this is one where the world threat is the most emphasized so far of the movies. I feel like that this movie should feel
It's how long it
bigger
feels.
as a result.
Although the ironic thing, though,
Yes.
this film and the next official one have this weird inverse effect, this weird inverse thing where this movie is very slow paced and kind of dull, but Connery is giving his all into the performance. Whereas the next one, You Only Live Twice, has a more exciting plot, but Connery isn't giving his all.
Was it because of this movie?
A lot of things. But yeah, Connery, I think Connery was kind of phoning it in You Only Live Twice.
You know, it's also...
We'll get to that.
It also has that paradox where Goldfinger was arguably a much more personal plot, not as world-threatening, but that one felt like a heavier deal than the actual world threat.
Like the gold reserves being irradiated for decades.
Which, yeah, to be fair, would have heavily affected the economics of the country. But,
I think what could have helped was if they did something a bit similar to what MGS3 does it, accidentally, to have one of the nukes being detonated as a testing, a showcase of what Spectre can do, and the other being a ransom.
So we know the target at least. If Bond doesn't save the day, Miami will be destroyed.
So they chose Miami, a section of Florida.
And here's the biggest of the movie wanting to flex for the underwater shots. Now we're basically going to have Largo's henchmen against, I think, the MI6, other MI6 agents.
Bond's mates.
Yeah. All doing basically an underwater fight.
Okay. Okay, so I guess orange could be a good diving color somehow.
That's more red than actually orange leaves.
It might just look orange because of the water.
Like that's actually orange.
Charge!
Yeah, like, John, what happened to the score? We kind of need it right now.
Yeah, charge. And by charge, we mean swim pretty slowly.
Yeah, Battle of Minas Tirith, this is not. Again, this is a deliberate choice of maybe the fight happening with no score to it, which is instead should be, more, especially because this is the kind of fight where, because of a condition, no one can actually properly act. So you will be kind of needing to have the music do the job.
I'm guessing the idea is to show how serious it is by not having music play, which is a double-edged sword.
I can tell this was a deliberate decision, but I just don't agree with it.
I took my headphones off in case, is the music being drowned out? No, there literally isn't any.
Only one shot. Make it count.
Don't worry, he will.
Wow, though, this really is the underwater James Bond movie. Jetpack underwater.
Oh, right, that's the device that Q actually showcased to him before, it just propels him, faster.
Well, there's your music, Tio.
But, yeah, why wasn't there previously?
Well, I guess they can officially boast that we had an underwater fight scene. Was this the first ever underwater fight scene in cinema?
Very specifically on this kind of scale, because I'm pretty sure there were one-on-ones previously, basically the countless Tarzan movies where he fights a crocodile, for example.
Yeah, I guess, the first underwater battle scene.
Yeah, again, on this kind of scale, which, to be fair, again, for the 60s, having to coordinate these many people with this kind of environment, it is impressive when you get down to it.
God forbid that them actually cutting the air to their tanks was real. Jesus Christ.
Probably not, or at least I hope so. Jeez. But it's more of a case where I think, they just had to get whatever the takes actually, got, and the actors had just a general idea what was going to happen.
I will say, while some people are obviously a bit upset with how these days some companies rely more on computer effects than practical stuff, It is arguably for the better that we're not doing some of this insanely dangerous stuff that they were doing back in the day.
And then there's George Miller.
Oh, George Miller is a special breed of director.
From the director of Happy Feet, everyone.
He gave us the iconic flaming guitar.
Not just that, they showcased recently stuff like Furiosa actually also keeps that going.
Although I hear Furiosa used a bit more computer stuff than Fury Road.
Yeah, not that much, but it is present for necessity purpose. But for the most part, it still retains the practicality.
Very nice.
Bombs away.
Just to show that they're dead.
Yeah, just to show that in the case the family they died. I love that John Barry had to insert a xylophone to say, oh, this is more tricky than usual.
I'll say, given all the water stunts done, the crew must have been exhausted after this movie was finished.
Probably. Ow.
I see. Oh, the humanity!
Random lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah, just passing by, don't mind me.
Did they just go, holy cow, I got a lobster in the shot. We gotta add this in the movie, guys.
Most likely, Drova. As an look at that, the nature is witnessing this, brutal fight from man to man.
Be funny if they show
I
a
mean,
shark.
it's a cool-looking lobster.
Imagine a shark passes by and goes, "Those damn foolish humans."
Also,
more wildlife.
Yeah, that's basically what they did. Again, I get the thought process is the whole nature, octopus, okay, because nature goes on despite everything, despite this is a very important event. Again, I get the thought processes, but that sometimes it looks a bit too silly.
Octopus, sure, Roy, I found the side order.
Damn. Can't believe they predicted it.
Yeah, maybe you can retool this as a part of a war between the Octarians and.
Speak of the devil. There's a shark.
I mean, that was probably more exciting. Because actually, I can't even make a joke of this is the worst platoon fight I've ever seen because there's nothing.
Also, both Octarians and I keep forgetting names these days.
Oh, wait! Octarians, and octopus is the logo of Spectre.
Yeah, that's another shark harpooned. Poor bastard.
So are the Octarians kind of like Spectre in the series, or is it just
no? Well, they are painted as the bad guy, but it's very pretty much clear that it's just a misunderstanding going back to the big war that they had mentioned a couple of times with, but thanks to a photo, it showcased that it's sadly a parallel to when Imperialist Japan basically told whatever was remaining of the shogunate to fuck off.
Or do they wear rings in that as well?
Yes. And again, it was clearly painted as a civil war where the squid population resulted victorious, and labeled the losing side as basically a danger for society.
Condemned everybody to live underground.
Again, it's pretty neat when you actually peel away the surface and learn about the lore.
And then France got blown up.
Among other things. But anyway, looks like Spectre is on the losing side here.
At least we secured the nukes.
Yeah.
Well,
one of them. If you notice, one of the
got the other one.
Yeah,
It was 2 or 3, right?
2.
2.
2.
Oh, thank God there were only 2 and not 3, because you can imagine this movie going any longer.
Well, this was the Cold War. For all we know, it could be just dispersed to somewhere else, like all the countless A-bombs and hydrogen bombs in Europe.
That's the thing. The Soviets have no part in this film.
No. Remember,
This is
again...
basically Spectre.
Well, Russia with love, so I guess they probably wanted to mix it up for this one.
And I get also the feeling, well, remember, when it came to the actual meeting that MI6 had when they asked for help, the CIA intervened, yes, but the Russians seem to have not responded into intervening in this. So it might be just a case of, potential neutrality just to see where this goes.
Dude, you've got a battleship on your tail. Just maybe, you might want to stick it in park.
Oh, you'll see, Jova. Boop.
Oh.
There we go. That's why the disco volante can actually go faster.
Clever.
So wait, what about us?
Well, they
Not our problem.
They did have a console of their own. They're basically just literally acting as the bait while the main ship actually moves away.
So sucks to be them.
So what makes you think we stand a chance against a literal battleship?
Dying for the cause and everything, Leaves.
Oh, and that's an American battleship they're up against. Yeah, dead.
Taste freedom.
Oh, boom! You don't say.
And apparently this guy has a
This
change
guy,
of heart. Good to know, I guess.
Okay, now this sounds like a good bombastic theme.
I think this theme's been in the other films as well. It's one of my favorite John Barry
Scores.
tracks.
Surprise.
Also, okay, Mr. Editor, why did you press the fast forward button here?
Again, like it's what Pedro said before, is to simulate the fast movement of a vehicle.
Yeah, like we can actually have it. We can actually shoot the boat going fast. So instead, let's speed up the footage. Again, the Captain America movies from the 70s do this shit too.
Yeah, Peter Hunt, Ernest Hostler, who edited the movie, I'm pretty sure they could have done something better than this.
Again, you have to remember this, back then it was the expected thing to do. It was considered more acceptable because that was literally the technology at the time, for it to do.
Peter Hunt would literally go on to direct a Bond movie.
It's not really unprecedented where editors become,
on Her
actual
Majesty's Secret
director.
Service, in case you wonder.
Man, they've had to veer out of islands almost every 10 seconds.
Uh-oh. And yeah, it's not Bond that actually gives the killing blow to Largo, but instead Domino. That's actually kind of neat. Huh? And yeah, I kind of had to disagree with the person that said that Largo was, felt ineffective as a villain against Bond. Even despite the age difference and, the size, he still managed to, hold his own.
I'll say, despite how Domino didn't really seem to have much to do in the movie, kudos to letting the Bond girl actually have the final hit kill.
It's gonna blow!
But wait, the nuke's still on.
Well, the doctor did say the nuke can't activate without the arming code, the arming device. Oh, look at that. A convenient life raft to do whatever we want in.
When arrows meet.
Ha.
I don't get it.
Me neither.
I'm sure there was some. Maybe this was some reference to some 60s thing that I'm not getting.
Maybe a song? I don't know. The point is that it would be useful to, to be recognized. Whee!
Wait, when are we actually getting in?
We're getting in at the end.
Also, I'm guessing that the other guy will just be rescued off screen. No?
I guess.
And yeah, we
Sorry.
don't really have much of a, as per tradition, we don't really have much of an epilogue. The movie just ends. I guess because of the length, it's kind of immersive, but it's still a bit of a shame.
All
Alright, final thoughts. Dweebs.
I'll go first. Yeah, this movie's got quite a pacing issue. The worst, this movie did not need to be over 2 hours. They could have just cut out a lot of the weird swimming stuff. Some scenes could have been trimmed down a bit. And, well, I mean, Connery's at least on form still in this film, along with most of the other actors.
What did you think of Adolfo Celli as the villain?
Well, okay, bearing in mind he's dubbed.
Mm-hmm.
He was fine. I mean, I think the script really gave him a whole lot to work with. He's just basically Spectre fog, and that's it. I think the most he does is like slap a Spectre agent with a towel and have him chucked into a shark pool. And it's like Joe has been saying, for a film that's meant to have these huge stakes of the world could literally, as a city could get blown up by nukes. It doesn't feel that epic and dramatic as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the underwater stuff looks nice at how it was shot, but they go on way too long, and the fight choreography under the water is just, it's not very interesting. Because I mean, there's not much you could do fighting underwater.
Again, I guess for the time, it wasn't seen as much. But unfortunately, even if that was the case for the time, that just means that it hasn't aged the best.
Yeah, and I like the music, although I have other better John Barry scores that come to mind, in my opinion. Like mainly The Living Daylights, which is funny enough, it's his last Bond score. But again, we'll get to those when we get to those. Honestly, that's really about it. It's a movie that I feel doesn't need to be as long as it is, and really could have been trimmed down, and they could have sped up or at least trimmed down on those underwater scenes. Like I get the core aspect of the movie, but the core aspect of the movie is what drags the whole thing down. Something's gone wrong. And yeah, that's about it for me. It's just really,
All right, Shiroi.
It was okay. Like it did as has been pointing out as has been pointed out throughout all of this. It's like they showed off a lot because they could. That's probably why a lot of this was just dragged out way longer than it should have been. But I don't know. It's just kind of this exists, is how I feel about it. I don't think I can add any more than that, to be honest.
All right, Pedro.
Well, that was definitely a Bond movie, I guess. A lot of water. There's a lot of water in this movie.
7.8
too much water. Yeah, that's IGN. This is actually one of those things where that kind of mentality would actually work here. Yes, that too much water indeed.
Yeah.
The secret messaging of this movie is to hydrate.
I guess so. The basic point is, again, it just feels like Bond on autopilot. Like, it just does the bare minimum to qualify as a Bond movie, and it just does and it just kind of goes through the formula, and it does the Q segment is not particularly funny. Like the characters, like the Bond girl is definitely one of the weaker ones. The overall mission and storyline just feel box standard. I'll take one of the more over the top silly movies over this boring slog any day. Jesus Christ. Give me even Men of the Golden Gun, for as much as Dubs hates on that movie, and don't get me wrong, that movie has problems, but Man of the Golden Gun is more entertaining than this. At least this just feels dull. Yeah, it's Bond on autopilot, and that's it. Like, it's definitely one of the weaker ones. So that's basically it. There's not much more I can say. There's a shit ton of stuff that doesn't need to be here. It's just there's just not much to say about this movie other than the fact that it's a Bond movie for the sake of having a Bond movie. Go on, Jova.
Wow, there was certainly a lot of underwater fights, sharks, and eye patches in this movie. Okay, I guess let me start off with the positives here. I do appreciate some of the breakthroughs in filming that apparently took place with this movie, essentially. Widescreen underwater camera technology, the works and all that. Nice. Also, in regards to stuff that's established for the James Bond aesthetic, like, of course, bad guys with eye patches, of course, Spectre, and evil pools of sharks. Though they didn't have frickin' laser beams. That's a shame. But, yeah, no. And also, of course, the underwater mooks with harpoon guns. I'm guessing this definitely made them a staple, or at the very least, something you think of when you're going for that. Yeah. That being said, aside from that, this is just another James Bond flick. Now, I want to be clear. I don't think that this is bad. Like, I have heard of much worse than this, and again, maybe part of it is it being my first viewing, but I, for the most part, still had fun. However, if I were to watch this again, it would be with someone else rather than on my own volition, essentially. Now, again, there are positives, like, while Domino sadly doesn't get much agency, I'll give him credit. Letting her get the final blow on Largo, the main bad guy of this flick, is an interesting change of pace, giving the woman more agency in the film, essentially. I guess one could argue that the woman kind of had agency during some of the final bits in Russia with Love, and also Goldfinger a bit, but, like, this one actually has her landing the final kill. Although I would argue that the love interest in Goldfinger was probably better executed, since Domino kind of feels like she doesn't have much to do until like the last, I want to say quarter of this movie, because yes, like the others, I do in fact feel the length of this movie. It is too long for its own good, essentially. Which is a shame, because, I mean, I feel like there is a plot here, but like Tio said, what they should have done is handle this kind of more like how Metal Gear Solid 3 handled this kind of plot, essentially. Well, for one thing, showing how serious the threat is, maybe even with one of the nukes being used at some point. Maybe on an uninhabited area, or, you know, someplace that wouldn't affect civilians as much, but something that really shows that, yes, they have the nuclear power and all that.
Maybe that's what happened. Being a Bond fan, Kojima looked at Thunderball and thought, you know what? I can do this better.
Possible.
That would be interesting. Like, one of Alan Moore's actual good points of advice is actually to use bad stories for inspiration instead of good stories. And the plots do seem similar enough, so maybe this was the inspiration for Metal Gear Solid 3. How about that? The underwater fight scenes are not bad. They're actually pretty good. Again, while some do drag on, I'll give them credit, you know, they knew what they were doing. And the final fight between Bond and Largo is also pretty good in of itself. The problem, again, just comes down to the pacing between some of the best scenes overall here and there. That said, since this is a movie in the 60s, of course it has some insanely crazy behind-the-scenes detail about just how far they went for some of these shots, including actual danger with real-life heckin' sharks. Like, Jesus. It's insane. But I guess to give them credit where credit was due, they pulled it off. And I'm guessing the movie was a hit since, well, they kept making more after this. In fact, let me see. On a budget of $9 million, they made $141.2 million. Yeah, that's a profit. That being said, again, maybe it was big and beloved back then, but nowadays I can see why it's not the most brought up example as the cream of the corn for the Bond series, essentially. It is another installment, and that is sadly what it may be most remembered as. Tio.
Alright, this is perfectly fine to me. The biggest problem in this is the length, the padding most of the time. But even so, there are also editing problems of very quick cuts that really feel sometimes that they just interrupt scenes. So I don't even know how a shorter version of this movie could have been cobbled without resulting into even more of a mess. Despite that, I still enjoyed it overall. I'll probably still take this over Dr. No, if I had to be honest. But then again, when it comes to this franchise, most of the movies are fine to me, and only a few of them genuinely did piss me off. So this is just basically just run of a meal, I'm partially also biased because, they've been inspired by a very prolific Italian actor, and Adolfo Celi, rest his soul, was very good in the role, if you ask me. So there is that.
The acting was on point.
Well, remember, it was dubbed over for this English version, but he dubbed himself for the Italian dub, so at the very least we also got that. No, at the end of the day, this is perfectly fine. It could have been better, but I still enjoyed it for what it was worth. And that also, and then also doesn't mean that I had to ignore the things that they aged poorly, like we mentioned, the initial woman that Bond has sex with, the animal cruelty, and even the way Bond recognizes the Spectre agent at the beginning, the whole, not a real woman would have not opened, a car door like that. It's just product of the time more than anything. The movie's still enjoyable, but it has its rough corners at the end of the day. All right, Williams. So, well, not immediately. What will be the next Bond movie eventually?
Well, when we get back to the next the Bond series, we'll be taking a little break from the official Bond films because we'll be going into quote-unquote parody territory with 1967's Casino Royale.
Well, as instead for our Christmas run, I decided for our next destination with a Slade, it should be Paris, the city of love, or more appropriately, of the bells. Because at the end of the day, what we really need is a love story. A love story that involves stuff like racism, questionable comedy, and in some versions, a candy-colored fruit bat. Tune in next time for the Hunchback of Notre Dame 1996. See ya.
Yeah.
See you
See
there.
ya.
Bye.